Hello everyone, Chase here, and welcome to this unboxing video of the Pink Floyd Shine On box set, originally released in 1992. I purchased this off of eBay a few weeks ago for around $50, which might sound like a lot, but considering that this box set sells complete for nearly $100 usually, that's a pretty good deal. So today we're going to be taking a look at all of the contents that come inside of this box, and I'll give you my thoughts on them as we go along. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start off first by looking at the brilliant cover art here, designed by Storm Thorgerson of Hypnosis, the group that did most of the Floyd's album covers throughout their career. It's a really beautiful image, honestly. I love the water, I love the design of it all, it's just so cool. And it says Shine On right down there, Pink Floyd. It has a really cool look to it, like it looks like it would be a collector's item. So if we open the box here, there's actually something inside before we get to the main contents that's actually really neat that came with my version of the box set that I purchased. So the seller included the original shrink wrap that this would have been packaged in back in 1992 on store shelves. So on this back side of the shrink wrap here, we have a little bit of an overview of everything included in the box. We have a saucer full of secrets, Metal, The Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall Parts 1 and 2, and A Momentary Lapse of Reason. Some other items that are included are Pink Floyd, The Early Singles, which is a CD that basically, as the title suggests, compiles all of their early singles from 1967 to 1968. And there's also a 112-page hardcover book of lyrics, rare photos, interviews, and more. On the front of the shrink wrap, there's just this little bit of a blurb just describing very briefly what's in the box set. Nothing too special or different from the other side. So with that out of the way, let's get into the first actual items of this box set. So first we have this little fold-out thingy that you kind of do this with, and as you'll see later, this can act as a little case to hold your CDs in, and there's a specific reason why you can do that. I will show you that later. So that's pretty neat. You can just fold it out like that. I'll keep that off to the side. And here is the early singles CD. I actually had to buy this separately because when I bought this box set, this didn't come with it. I had to buy it from another seller. But yeah, this CD basically includes all of the early singles on it. There's this really cool imagery on the inside when you fold it out of the band's early years. And there's the CD right there. It's in pretty good shape. It didn't have any scratches on it. Now, on the back cover of the CD, we have a little bit of a track listing here. We have Arnold Lane, Candy in a Currant Bun, See Emily Play, The Scarecrow, Apples and Oranges, Paint Box, It Would Be So Nice, Julia Dream, Point Me at the Sky, and Careful with That Axe, Eugene. Now, out of all these songs, the only one that actually appeared on an album was The Scarecrow, because it appeared on The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. So this is a nice little collector's item for people who love the early years specifically, I guess. There's a little bit of damage here because there must have been a price tag on it at one point, but this is a pretty cool addition to the collection. Now, next up in the box, we do have some postcards. These basically just have the artwork of the albums included in the box, and I actually have an interesting story I'll tell you guys after I go through them quickly. So we got Saucer Full of Secrets, Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall, and we have Momentary Lapse of Reason, and lastly we have just a postcard of the cover image of the box. Okay, so now that I've shown you all of the postcards, now I'm going to tell you the interesting story I have about them. So when the seller initially had the pictures posted of what was included in the listing, I noticed that one of the postcards was missing. Specifically this one here, The Wall. Now I saw that another user on eBay had messaged the seller about this, and they said that it wasn't included. But then, when I ordered it, I was just like, okay, I'll just have to find it elsewhere, no big deal. But I open up the package, I go through all the items, and lo and behold, this was in there. So then I'm sitting there wondering, okay, but where was it in the pictures? I mean, my theory is kind of that the seller just maybe lost it and forgot where it was, But then when they were getting it ready to ship, or at some other point before that, they discovered where it was and they just decided to package it with the box, which was really nice of them. And if they're watching this for whatever reason, thank you so much. Now I don't have to hunt down a whole nother set of these guys just to get a new one. So yeah, those are the postcards. Now let's move them out of the way here. So now that the postcards are out of the way, let's get on to one of my favorite parts of this entire thing, the hardbound book. Now it comes in this little frame that you kind of have to remove it from, almost like a picture frame. Let me do that off camera so I don't knock anything over. So this is the little frame it comes in, neatly housed in there, so you can just put that off to the side. And here is the book. Sorry, I just shook the camera there. So it has a really cool design. All of the artwork on all the different items in here has this really cool design. Like, all of them are really intricate looking, and it just looks so fancy. So inside the book, basically, I'll do a quick flip through because I'm not gonna have time to read every last bit of this to you guys. It's 112 pages. Basically, it just includes like a little bit of the band's history, all of that stuff, a little bit of a timeline, information about all the albums included. Sorry you can't really see this too well, but I'm trying my best not to knock the camera over. I'm sure there's scans of this somewhere, or separate listings on eBay if you really want to look at everything that's in here. Some pictures from concerts and a few other things. And here's the back cover of, or the back page, I'm sorry, of the front cover of the box. So just a brief overview of what's all included in here. I know you couldn't really see it too well, but there are copies of this that people sell individually on eBay. So if you really want just the book and nothing else, you could probably find it for a decent enough price. And I forgot to mention it, but at the top there, it does say Pink Floyd Shine On, just like the title of the box set. So moving that out of the way, now we can get on to the main meat of this box, I guess you could say. The albums that are included. So they all come in these special black cases. They're very reflective, so you might see me in the camera. But basically they come in these little reflective black cases where it just has a little sticker of the album art. And the inside isn't really anything special. It has that cool design on the disc, like I was saying about on the hardcover book. And there's a little bit of a thing in here that just says what the name of the album is. No liner notes or lyrics included. Those can be found inside of the hardcover book. So if you really need to look at the lyrics, they're in there. So we got that. And you'll notice on the spine that each one has little tiny designs on the side. That will make sense in just a moment. And if you own this box set, you already know what I'm talking about. So we got Saucer Full of Secrets, there's Metal, same deal on the inside. I'm not going to open up all of them because they're basically the same on the inside. Same kind of design, same font, everything like that. Then you got The Dark Side of the Moon, classic album art right there. You got Wish You Were Here. My favorite album, by the way, in case you didn't know that. You got Animals. You got The Wall. Now, The Wall is packaged in two different parts, if I can actually get it out of here without breaking anything. Whoopsie. Okay, there we go. There's one. And here is the other, if it wants to cooperate with me. There we go. Now, like I said before, The Wall is in two parts because it's a double album. And then lastly, we have A Momentary Lapse of Reason. Now, when this album released in 1987, this was the last Pink Floyd album for a while, and it was the most recent one by the time this box set came out, because the Division Bell was, I think, just about being started around that time. It was 1992. The Division Bell came out 1994, which is 2 years later. But this was the most recent release from the band at that point. Now, for those of you with a keen eye, if you were paying attention to the spines when I was showing the CDs, you might notice that they make up one cohesive image. And what is that image, you may ask? Well, it's the Dark Side of the Moon artwork. I know mine's a little bit scuffed up due to age and just wear and tear, but it still creates the image pretty nicely, I think. And you can even put them in this little display to put them on your shelf to show off the cool artwork that is formed when you put the CDs all together. So that's a really cool part of this box set, and that's basically the last major part of it. All of the CDs are housed in this little window-shaped display. You can take it out, but I'm not going to, so I don't mess up anything. But, yeah, that's basically the main gist of this box set. There's a lot of cool stuff included. I think it's a great collector's item for any Pink Floyd fan. And the cool thing is, this box is really the first of its kind. This is like the first like major Pink Floyd box set. And as you might know, especially if you're as much of a diehard Pink Floyd fan as me, box sets would kind of become a mainstay in the band's catalog in the years to come, because nowadays you got so many box sets. You got the Discovery box set, the Oh By The Way box set, the early years box set, the later years box set, the Dark Side of the Moon 50th anniversary box set that came out like a year or two ago almost. So, yeah, this really is the first of its kind, and it paved the way for future releases, I think. And honestly, I think you get a pretty good selection of items in here. Like, you get postcards, you get 8 CDs, plus a bonus CD of the early singles. Now, the cool thing about the CD of the early singles is that unless you had the original vinyl releases of those singles from the 60s, those were the only places you could listen to those singles, because YouTube didn't exist back then, so you couldn't just go on YouTube and look up Pink Floyd, It Would Be So Nice, because there were a lot of those singles that were just so hard to find. Some of them were included on compilations, like Relics had a few of them on, like Julia Dream was on there, Paint Box was on there, I believe Careful What That Axe Eugene was on there too. But some of the more obscure ones, like Point Me at the Sky and It Would Be So Nice, were a lot harder to find unless you owned those singles when they came out. So it was kind of a nice way to make those early songs a little more accessible, even though the band probably would prefer if you forgot about them, because they did not look back on those songs too fondly. But yeah, there's a lot of nice stuff in here, and I feel like for what I paid for it, I feel like I got a pretty good deal, because that's 9 CDs if you include the early singles, a full 112-page book that has a lot of cool stuff in it, and you can tell that it was written early on, well, not really early on, but before a bunch of significant events in the Floyd's history happened. Like, this was before the Division Bell, this was before the reunion with Roger Waters at Live 8 2005, it's before the deaths of Syd Barrett and Rick Wright in 2006 and 2008, respectively. It's really a time capsule of when this box set was released, and I think that's so cool. The postcards are really nice, too. I really like how they include the album artwork. And, yeah, in conclusion, I think it's a great box set. I highly recommend it for any Pink Floyd fan that loves the older stuff or just loves to collect box sets, because those box sets have, sometimes they're usually hit or miss, sometimes they have good stuff, sometimes it's just a lot of extra stuff that really might not be necessary to some people, but I feel like this is a nice little assortment for what you get, you know? So if you can find this online used for a good price, I highly recommend picking it up, because it's a nice little assortment of items. Alright everyone, I'd like to thank you all for watching this Pink Floyd Shine On box set unboxing. Stay tuned for more videos, because I have a lot planned for this channel in the near future, and I will see you all on the dark side of the moon.